I'm certified financial planner David Somerville. I'm here in studio tonight, joined by registered retirement consultant Jason Pollock. Jason, good evening.
Good evening.
How
All
are
is
things?
well.
All is well in the world.
All is well.
I want to get into an article today, Jason. We came across our desk was it's the role of an executor, and we do a lot of talking about the market and creating wealth and growing wealth and spending wealth and retirement and all that great stuff. But at some point down the road, we're all going to pass away, and there are some stats out that say right now in this country, roughly half of Canadians that should have a will, and the other half have no will. And when you're in a will, when you go to a lawyer and you make your will and you decide where the money's going to go, who's going to get what, one of the biggest roles in that decision of the will is who's going to be your executor, right? So, most people we talk to, when they look at an executor, they say, "Oh yeah, my kids will be the executor," which is fine. It can work. Some people pick friends and family and whatever it may be. But we do want to get into today the role of the executor. And, a lot of people think that, hey, I'm named executor. Isn't that a great thing to do? Well, you might think it's a position of privilege. It's actually a position of pain. It is a big time deal, Jason, having to step in and having to organize an estate. So what we want to talk about tonight are some of the things that go into the role of the executor. And the first point I want to make here is, if at all you're ever named to be an executor to a friend, a member of your family, whatever it may be, the first question you have to ask is, I happily accept or unhappily accept that role of executor. So where's the will? And it's amazing, right? Like, people write wills 20, 30, 40 years ago. They go to a lawyer, the lawyer's retired, the will gets passed on to somebody else. They don't have a copy of it. So number one thing here, if you're going to be an executor, is you might want to ask your friend, family, whoever it may be, happy to do it, but can I get a copy of the will?
Yeah, absolutely right. And as you said, a lot of people don't update them, right? So it could be 20 or 30 years that since they've put together the will. And again, maybe the lawyer's retired. And where do you go? Do you have to go to the law society to find the will, or maybe they gave the files to someone else, a different lawyer? So it can definitely be a challenge.
First question you want to find out, where's the will?
Where's the
Right?
will?
Exactly.
Then you've got to figure out, you've got to arrange the funerals, whether it's burial, whether it's cremation. What did the deceased want? You've got to order the death certificates. Maybe they just wanted a big old fashioned party. It's a big commitment. Not a lot of people do the pre-planned ones. So that's the next thing on your list.
Well,
figure out the funeral.
yeah, and even with the funeral or burial, I mean, cremation is, I wonder, Jason, I mean, today when you do a will, they ask you burial, cremation, and cremation becoming a much more, I think, it's taking a bit of the market share away from the typical casket and the whole burial thing. But again, I'm wondering if 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was even in the will. So it's important that if you're going to be the executor, it's, hey, let's have a look at your will. Let's find out where the will is. Let's see what you want. What kind of arrangements do you want? But again, a lot of people who don't even have wills, if you don't have a will and you die intestate, somebody has to then step in to be your executor. How do they know
You don't.
what your wishes were? So yeah, number two is great, is to have that those arrangements made up. Number three here, on things you want to be aware of when you're taking on an executor role, is the inventory of assets and debts, right? So you think about it, right? Where does my friend, my whoever, where are their bank accounts? Where are their investments? Where are their insurance policies? What are all the assets? What do the assets look like? If they own stock, there's some calculation you have to look into, when they bought it, if at some point you're going to sell it. But also too, Jason, it's all the debts, right? They've got credit card debt, they've got mortgage debt, they've got line of credit debt. So, really, it's important to know where the inventory of assets and liabilities sits within the estate.
And it can be a real nightmare if the deceased wasn't organized, right? Where the bank accounts are, all that kind of stuff. It can be a challenge. Number four on the list, then you've got to send notifications. So whether it's, just notifying some friends, some family, maybe they're out of country or out of province, you've got to notify family. And then all the things like the old age security, the CPP, the banks, the credit cards, everything has to be notified.
And it takes time, right? So
Yeah.
what you're hoping for is they have a will. You can put together an inventory of assets. You can take it down to the lawyer's office. You can get the probate completed. You're going to pay the probate fees, but then you can at least go to the bank, open up the estate account, and start to manage through some of those that information. Number five here, when it comes to managing an estate as an executor, is is the care of assets, right? And the planned disposition. What if that client had a bunch of mutual funds? What if that client had a bunch of stocks? Again, you've got to get the information to the brokerage firm, to the bank, to the advisor's office, and start to make decisions on how to sell those stocks. So again, it's a big responsibility. What if you're managing $1 million estate of assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and you're managing on behalf of three or four beneficiaries? You've got to make sure you take due care when it comes to winding down those asset dispositions.
Yeah, and it's also important, which is number six, to resolve all the debts. So not just giving the money away to the beneficiaries, but you've got to make sure those all the debts are paid in full. Arrange for any debt forgiveness. There may be some outstanding creditors that will wipe off their debts, but that's just as important as who it's going to go to dispose of the money to the beneficiaries, is making sure the debts are paid off.
Well, you and I both know that, right? Let's say you're the executor to even a family, an estate. The first question is once the person dies is how much am I going to get, right?
Yeah.
And they figure out mom and dad have this big house, and all of a sudden the siblings want in, they want their payments, the wives and the spouses want payment. Everybody wants the money, but as executor, yeah, you can't start dispersing any capital until you pay off your debts. And again, you've got taxes to worry about at some point. Number seven here for me is taxes. Like I just said, is basically, you got to look at all the relevant taxes. You got to do a tax return. Depending on when they died, you could have to do one tax return. You may have to do two tax returns. But what's the estate tax going to look like? Again, getting it squared up with Revenue Canada, because what you don't want to do is not pay enough tax, and then a year or two down the road, you get a surprise audit from CRA that says, "Hey, by the way, on Aunt Mary's estate, there wasn't enough tax taken off." I will say one thing about taxes, and one thing I've always advised our clients on is that when someone passes away, if you've done the taxes by yourself for your loved one or whoever, it may make sense at that point to get a professional involved, pay a professional tax preparer, a few dollars, have them do the tax return, the deceased tax return. The last thing you want to do is have surprises down the road with CRA.
Yeah, I actually had a friend who was an executor, and 2 years after she distributed all the money to the heirs, they came back and said that there was a mistake, and Revenue Canada was looking to the executor to make it right. So you're absolutely right. And number eight on the executor's guide is, we've talked about it, is making the distribution. So again, after you've paid off all the creditors, is distribute the net assets to all the heirs.
Right. Number nine is wrapping it all up, is finalizing the estate settlement, including, all the probate accounting, and getting the clearance certificate from the government that's saying that the estate's been paid for. So, if you look at settling an estate, a person dies that has a really, really clean, well laid out, organized estate, you might be looking at, 3, 6, 9 months. I can imagine, Jason, if you walked in, Aunt Mary died, you're the executor, she's got a house, she's got record keeping all over the place. I always say, I don't want to come in and be an executor and play Columbo and have to lay down all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle and try and piece together what assets she still owns. One thing I said to my father one day is we were going through his estate, and I said, like, you've got to start shredding some stuff in your file drawer, because he's got statements from years and years ago. He's changed banks, he's changed credit cards, he's changed cable companies. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want to have to start to knock down all these doors to find out what's still relevant and not. It's important that you create an organized estate. And a few last points here, Jason, that I've learned in the last little bit by being an executor myself and working with executors, is one of the big things in 2022 is everybody has a cell phone, everybody has passcodes, everybody has user IDs for their Apple programs, for Facebook, for online banking. whatever it may be, you may want to write a list out of all your technology passcodes, because the last thing you want to be thinking about is, someone that I love passes away, but I can't get into erase their Facebook post. I can't get into erase their Instagram post. I can't get into any of their online services. That's number one. Again, personal documents, where's the marriage license? Where's, our home deed? Having some documentation to where all those important pieces of papers are. Executors also to that if you're going to pick an executor, you do want to make sure that executor lives in the province that you live in. So if I'm in Ontario, I want to make sure my executor lives in Ontario. Many times I've asked clients, who's your executor? It's my son, my eldest son. Okay, where does he live? He lives in California. The problem with that is if you live out of the province, the government of Ontario is going to ask you to post an estate bond. An estate bond is usually 2 times the size of the estate. So if the estate is $1 million, the estate bond will be for $2 million. It's additional cost, it's additional overhead, it's additional running around to try and post it. And what they want is they want to know that if you become an executor of an estate, that you're not going to take the money and run. So lots of things. Our advice is to talk to your lawyer. Make sure you have your will, number one. Make sure you have a great inventory of your estate, of your assets. Make sure your financial advisors know who to talk to. Maybe it'd be the kids. Again, maybe have your lawyer, the accountant, and the advisor sit down and collaborate. It's a big deal. It's a lot of work. And I'll tell you, if you don't have it organized, your executor is not going to be very happy when the notice comes down that he's going to be the executor or she's
Yeah.
going to be the executor. So it's important to get it under control.
Yeah, just be organized. It's not a fun topic, but take an hour a year type of thing, and just make sure everything's ready to go.
Yeah. Just so you know, Jason, just for full disclosure, you are one of my executors.
Oh,
And
geez.
so I've
I
organized
can
it
charge
pretty well,
5%,
right?
right? So
Well, it's
yeah,
funny, right?
yeah,
Like we have a great technology here in our office.
yeah.
It's called Quick Estate, and it basically takes all this information, and I can upload all this data into an online portal. Everything's in there for Jason and for my other executor, Rob. And again, not that I plan on dying, but at least if the worst case happens, it's like, where do I start? Well, here's the starting point, and what would have taken maybe 2 years to settle might take you 2 or 3 months. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to die, so
No.
don't worry about that. But again, Jason, again, thanks for coming in tonight and talking about a really important topic. We really
Good
appreciate it.
stuff.
Yep.
Thank you.
And for those out there, don't forget to share us on YouTube. We're also on Spotify.